Strike Back Origins Part 4. After last week's episode where Porter decides, he can't really trust the people he's working for, he lets Masuku live. And in this episode, he and Masuku are getting tracked down by the general over the prison. And, like the super tracker guy who's, just follows the footprints. And even when they go on the concrete or, on the rocks and stuff, he's able to figure out, they went on the rocks to try to avoid my sensing and stuff. Or my tracking, not sensing. But it was a really good episode. It was pretty cool. It was sort of a side mission type of episode. It seemed where Porter's trying to do a specific mission, and it doesn't exactly advance the plot of the main story. But it was a really good episode. Just in general, it was a very well done episode. And he has to deal with Masuku trying to save these people, these kids, and this nun, and he gets shot, and then Porter's like, well, you can't obviously help me rescue the other kids and kill off the Tootsies, so I have to go do it myself. And he goes in, takes these people out, goes to rescue, the two boys. And I thought it would be a lot more kids. I was thinking I forgot they mentioned, two kids, but it just seemed like so much trouble. I was like, man, it's really only two kids. But obviously, I'm not saying that like he should have left them, but it just seemed like the amount of people they had for two kids just seemed like too many. Like even 5 people seem like too many. But he goes in, he rescues the kids, they get back, and then they're found by the tracker, who apparently has amazing hearing too, because when he finds the house and he's with the 2 guards, he hears Porter basically like loading the gun, and when he pulls it back, the guy just ducks down. And it was funny to see the soldiers kind of just stand there, and they both get shot up. And so they go through, and then the people come in, the general comes in with all his people, and Porter and Masuku, hold off the house so that the nun and the kids can get across the border and escape, and, so that they can defeat the general. It was really well done. They're getting surrounded, it's just the 2 of them. I think this was a really well action-packed episode, kind of like the last one, but a lot more so in this, because there's a lot of tension, because Masuku was shot in the beginning. Porter was shot, right through the stomach. So it was really, the tension was high, and he had to figure out, how do I keep Masuku alive when he's trying to do all this other stuff and save these other people, and we're being tracked, and I'm technically supposed to have already killed him, but I didn't, and I have to figure out all this stuff at one time. So it was really good. And then we find out that his wife was actually sick, and that's why, she had a tumor. She wasn't exactly sick, but that's what they were talking about in the last episode. And unfortunately, she didn't survive the operation, which is very sad. But we did get the answer as to, what it was that was being, hidden from him, and it was that his wife had a tumor, and sadly the procedure failed, so she passed away. And there was another side story with Collinson, where he goes and he finds out that they kind of have a double agent. And when he goes to find him, this was probably the one time I felt that Collinson was actually a good guy, like throughout the whole series, because he was finding out even more information. Like when he found out Masuku believed that he was hired by MI6 to carry out the assassination. Collinson didn't know this information, and even though he wants him dead, him learning this extra information kind of made him look into things, and it made him seem like more of a good guy, and it kind of raises the bar on him a little bit compared to him just being the villain, or being the guy who was the actual person that killed Porter's friends. But he was actually going out trying to figure certain things out and see what's going on behind our backs that we don't really know about. And he finds this double agent, and he's working for the bad guy, and he says, okay, we'll leave you alive, but all you have to do is help us out and be our double agent rather than his double agent. And the guy kills himself, and it shows just how serious things can really be in those types of situations. So Collinson had to watch that guy kill himself, and he wasn't able to basically make up the plan, or execute the plan on the fly like he was trying to do, and get a one-up on the bad guys. But that was a really interesting portion. I really enjoyed it, mostly because it made him seem like a good guy, more than the last couple episodes where you find out, he's the one who killed him. he wants the kid dead, he wants Masuku dead, and he's just by the books, kill this guy, kill that guy. And then this episode, it really seemed like he was just coming together as a good person. And then of course in the end he did confront Porter, and he asked him like, where is Masuku, and Porter lets Masuku go because he realizes certain people can't be trusted, mostly Collinson, because of what happened during their main mission. And it was just really good. He let him go. Hopefully Masuku will come back, but I know this is only 6 parts, so with this being episode 4, that doesn't really happen in this series. But it was definitely a really good episode, and the ending of it, I can't remember the woman's name, but she confronts Porter because she wants to know what happened during the mission. And I love that part because she says, I have to trust the people who have my back, and right now I don't trust you or Collinson. And I really enjoyed that because she obviously knows something is going on between them, because Collinson is always like, by the books, do this, do that, you did what you had to do, if they die, too bad. And then Porter's like the opposite side of that, where he's the reason, or he's not exactly the reason things are going crazy, but he doesn't really help. He kind of just keeps going off mission over and over again, and he's trying to get an extraction for himself and Masuku and things like that, when he's supposed to kill this guy. So she's stuck in the middle of two guys, where one's kind of by the books, but at the same time he's hiding stuff, and the other guy just isn't by the books. He's not really hiding anything, but he's just out there and not by the book. So she's stuck right in the middle, and she can't trust either of them, and they're the two main components of the show, and obviously all the missions. So she confronts Porter, and she'll kind of be, I think she'll be more on his side once he decides to tell her what he learned from Scarface. So it'll be cool to see how that plays out in the next episode. But we only really have 2 more, if I remember right. It was only 6 parts, which kind of sucks because I was really enjoying this, and it just kind of makes it sad that this, I guess, form of Strike Back really only had the 6 episodes of a season, and then we have the original Strike Back, or not the original, but we have, I guess, the Americanized version of Strike Back, sort of. But I really enjoyed this episode. I think more so than the other ones, because it just it kind of changed things around. Collinson seemed like a good guy. Porter, was working with Masuku. It was sort of a side mission type of thing, but him being who he is a good guy. And, they kind of expressed that with the nun, where she slaps him in the beginning because, she mentions how he's just comfortable with death. And then at the end he says, I'm going to let you guys go, or we're going to, fight off, like the elite while you guys get across the border, because it's the only way you have a chance. And she kind of, he kind of redeems himself in her eyes, which is pretty cool. And it shows, even though he is just like, a war machine, and that's what he was made to do because he joined the army, he is still a good person, and he went to save the kids, and he's gonna stay, he stayed at the home to, give the kids and the nun a chance to cross the border. So it was kind of cool to go through that. And even when he's, talking to his daughter, she says herself, I'm not used to death like you are. And I thought that was just a really interesting link to pretty much the entire episode of him being like just a war machine, and then at the same time he is still a good guy. So I enjoyed the episode overall. Loved the action, of course. Loved the story. Sad to see his wife go, and once again, with it only being these 6 episodes before it ended up becoming the Strike Back we have now, it kind of sucks that we won't really get a lot of development out of those characters, because odds are they'll never bring them back into Strike Back. And if they do, it would be pretty hard to bring I can't think of his name right now, but Collinson, because that's the guy who's in The Walking Dead right now. So it'd be kind of difficult to bring him in for something like that. But if they do, after premiering this, they might work on season 4, or I guess technically season 5 of Strike Back, and try to bring some of those characters into the current Strike Back, which would be great to see, even though we wouldn't get the same type of development because they wouldn't have the interaction with Collinson or Porter, unless they can get Collinson in, and they obviously can't get Porter because of the way this season is going to end. But love this episode. Comment below, let me know what you guys thought. Favorite parts, least favorite parts. with it only being 2 episodes left, what do you really want to see the most? Out of these, two out of the 2 hours that we get. Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.